17 years is not just a date. It's a foundation that I thought nothing could destroy. It turned out that one wrong step was enough for everything to collapse. The pain was unbearable, but at that moment, I made the only right decision to save my daughter. I've changed from a city to a remote village, a factory and a corporation to a rusty sawmill. They thought I was going to break down. But here, among the sawdust and the smell of fresh wood, I found something more than just a business. I found myself and my new family. Christopher was doing fine, but suddenly his life took a turn for the worse. As for many young people, chance decided everything. After graduating from high school, he left his hometown in North Dakota and dreamed of enrolling in the extremely prestigious Coast Guard Academy, but it didn't work out. The deadline for accepting documents to such educational institutions has already expired. Then, on the recommendation of his brother, he enrolled in Pioneer Valley Technical College. The choice of specializations there was wide. He thought about it for a long time and finally settled on carpentry. Immediately after graduation, he served 2 years in the Army. After being demobilized, he rented an apartment in Midland City, a large regional center near his hometown, and got a job in the carpentry shop of a medium-sized private enterprise, Ridgeline Custom. No matter how much he resisted the admission, working with wood captivated him. He began accepting private orders from friends, making various pieces of furniture in the workshop, side tables, chairs, bar stools. One day, one of his creations caught the attention of the head of production. He carefully examined the product and immediately ordered a set of kitchen stools from Christopher. Christopher, seeing that he was not being scolded, proposed several concepts, including models with small storage compartments built into the stool. A week and a half later, the carpentry shop began accepting orders for the manufacture of cabinet furniture for the kitchen, and a month later, for a full-fledged home furnishing. Customers poured in, insistently demanding that Christopher fulfill their orders. From the position of an ordinary carpenter, he quickly rose to foreman of the workshop. Around the same time, Christopher met Bridget, who was completing her studies at Montgomery State University with a degree in financial analysis. When they first met, she laughed a little at his profession, casually calling him a carpenter. Christopher corrected her. The carpenter is engaged in supporting structures and rough work. A carpenter is someone who works with wood, but his work is more subtle and detailed than that of a carpenter. And among the carpenters, there is an elite. These are cabinet makers. This is the highest level of skill. Do you already have a top level? They were just passing by the Green Valley Mall, where Christopher's furniture was displayed in the window. "Look at this. It's my job," he said. Bridget appreciated the items on display and was pleasantly surprised by their quality, but she was even more impressed by the asking price, $8,500. They started dating and, 9 months later, got married. The newlyweds settled into Bridget's spacious 3-room apartment, which she inherited from a distant relative. Soon, the entire apartment was furnished with exclusive furniture made by Christopher. They had a daughter, who was named Danielle. After completing her maternity leave, Bridget got a job as a financial specialist at the same company, Ridgeline Custom, where Christopher worked. 18 years have passed. Christopher worked in a separate production department and was a senior manager there. The flow of orders did not stop. The management appreciated his hard work, which brought the company significant marginal profits. His wife was considered a highly qualified expert, and she was regularly invited to participate in negotiations with clients where she justified the final cost of the order or, in the case of wholesale purchase of raw materials, would successfully reduce the purchase price. Over time, William, the founder's son, took over as director, replacing his father, who preferred to retire and spend time with his grandchildren. Bridget and William studied at the same university, but he was 2 years older. They knew each other and, as it turned out much later, at one time were in a relationship. Christopher didn't know about this. He noticed that over the past 4 months, Bridget had become arrogant, constantly giving orders both at home and at work. In fact, Christopher and his daughter Danielle have turned into white-collar staff at home. Meanwhile, Bridget started staying late in the evenings, referring to some obscure work meetings. Her meetings with friends, whose existence Christopher had not even suspected before, became more frequent. Reflecting on the strange changes in his wife's behavior, Christopher came to the sad conclusion that she was cheating. It was a serious thorn in his heart. After considering the situation, he decided this splinter requires immediate removal, no matter how painful this procedure may be for him. His colleagues in the shop knew about his wife's infidelity and laughed behind his back. As it turned out later, Danielle was also aware of her mother's affair on the side. She studied at the Sunrise Private Academy, and her close friend, the daughter of the owner of a large hotel chain, overheard her parents' conversation. In this conversation, the father revealed that CEO William King meets at their hotel every Wednesday with his chief financial analyst, Bridget Grant. Bridget booked the hotel room in her own name. They met, as a rule, during business hours. In the end, no matter how hard Bridget tried to hide from her husband, the truth about her infidelity reached Christopher. It was at this time that his brother, Jonathan, came to town, who had never loved Bridget but treated her with respect as his brother's wife. Christopher told Jonathan about what was going on in his family. "My brother advised me, 'Chris, drop it. You won't have a life together. You can't trust her anymore, and without trust, what kind of family is there? John, what about Danielle? She is already 16 years old now. She's in her senior year, and then she's going to go to university. She's so petite, graceful, and, by the way, a state martial arts champion. Maybe she should focus on sports?' No, he doesn't want to. She says that she studies for herself. She will chase her husband when she gets married. I ask, 'What are you going to drive for?' She replies, 'If I had a husband, I'd find something to chase. In general, a lively girl is growing up.' So you answered your own question. Whichever one of you she stays with, she will remain herself. She's already an adult. She knows how to stand up for herself. She just needs timely support and financial support. I won't hurt her with money. I have savings. I was planning to buy a new SUV. I'll save that money now. Of course, you'll have to quit your job. I don't think that because of my wife's affair with the CEO, I will be able to stay there. He's going to fire me himself because I'm going to give him a hard time. Be careful with that. You're a big guy. You're going to hurt him. As for work, I'll say this. Come home. It's only 20 miles to the city. We have an old sawmill building and all the woodworking equipment there. They used to cut and sell timber there, but now there's just no one to do it. And people are actively building. They need both a structural beam and a board for flooring. So all this stuff belongs to someone, doesn't it? The previous owner, Mr. Harper, is dead. The heirs don't need this workshop, and they don't even know its real value. And you'll find a job for yourself, and you'll provide jobs for people. And where to live. Do you think I'm going to kick you out? My parents' house is standing. Of course, cosmetic repairs will be required, but there are all the amenities. I'm in the sauna that my father built, and the whole family still washes. And the house. Let's make an effort and put it in order. I'll help you out too." That's what the brothers agreed on. Christopher took time off from work and on the same day went with his brother Jonathan to his hometown, inspected the workshop and his parents' house, and decided. It was agreed that Jonathan, taking his wife, Sarah, as a co-founder, would create Valley Woodworks Limited Liability Company, LLC, and Christopher would work as an employee. At the same time, Danielle tried to reason with her mother, but she reacted in her own way. Realizing that she could push her daughter away with sharp attacks, she assured her that she wanted what was best for the family. She instilled in Christopher that he was capable of nothing, either as a breadwinner or as a man, and that it was only because of her relationship with CEO William King that his father was still employed. It turned out that she was the one saving the family. "Daniel, don't tell your father anything. He doesn't need to know about it, because it will hurt his ego, and he can do stupid things. Let everything take its course," she begged. Danielle decided to keep quiet and not say anything to her father. But that day, he spoke to her himself. He knew that Bridget had rented a hotel room because, considering Christopher to be a dimwit, she had paid for the room via her home's Wi-Fi. The reply from the hotel came with the confirmation of the reservation and the indication of the room. Next, Bridget followed the usual pattern. She was supposed to disappear from work in the afternoon. Her husband had warned her that she would stop by her friend Megan's place for a while after work. At the same time, William King was leaving the office. He told his wife that he would visit a closed business club, where he had an important appointment. Her father had said in the morning that he was being called to the Social Security office, so Bridget had gone to work alone. After his mother left, Christopher had a conversation with his daughter. He told her everything that happened and explained, "Daughter, understand, I didn't want to ruin our family. I can't just live with your mom anymore." Danielle did not tell her father that she already knew everything and that she had tried to influence her mother, but nothing had worked. She realized that she couldn't stop her father. "So I decided, Dad, do what you think is right. I do not know what to tell you." At that time, Jonathan arrived. Dad packed up his things, they loaded everything into a pickup truck, and Jonathan drove off. Christopher sat with his upset daughter for a while and said, "You can decide for yourself who you want to live with. You have everything here, friends, private school. Just remember, I will always be waiting for you. Don't drop out of school. Finish the 10th grade, go to the 11th, and go to university. You're going to be a white-collar mom, and you'll always find me in our hometown at your grandparents' house. And buses run from our house often." "Dad, aren't you going to tell Mom anything?" "Why is that?" "I'll go in and say goodbye. I also need to leave a letter of resignation. It's a shame that everyone at work knows what's going on and is laughing behind my back, and this is very unpleasant. I'll file for divorce in court today. Please don't call your mom yet, don't say anything, and don't call me. I'll turn off my mobile today. If there's anything urgent, call Jonathan. He'll find me. I'll call you every day and decide who you're going to live with. Come on, run to school." Danielle packed up and went to school. The school year was nearing its end, and she wasn't happy about the approaching summer. She was saddened by what was happening. She couldn't imagine spending the summer without her father. She wanted to call her mother, but she resisted, realizing that it would be a betrayal of her father on her part. At that time, Bridget was sitting in the office, in her own office, polishing her nails out of boredom. Then she spent a long time sorting through meaningless papers. Towards 1 o'clock in the afternoon, she perked up, straightened her hair, and then William King came into her office. "Bridget, are you ready for our meeting?" "I'm always ready, like a veteran scout." "So I let my driver go today, and we can go together in my car. Have you booked a room?" "Of course. And here's the thing. Don't sign the secretary's arrival and departure log. If anything happens, you will refer to me, which I have allowed." "Okay, I don't mind." "Great. I'll be in the parking lot in 15 minutes. They met in the parking lot. Bridget got into the back seat, and 15 minutes later, they arrived at the Skyline Suites Hotel. Bridget went to the reception desk and took the room key card. William parked the car on the underground level. From there, bypassing the reception, got into the elevator and went to the right floor. They were unaware that Christopher was watching them closely. About 15 minutes later, Christopher came to the reception, who, smiling, asked for the room key. He explained that his wife had rented a hotel room for the weekend. She was already in the room, and he had gone to the store to buy groceries. To make sure, he showed me a baguette. After presenting his driver's license, he was given a second room key card. Still smiling cheerfully, he went to the elevator and went up to the desired floor. When he got to the room, he turned on the video recording on his phone, put it in the top pocket of his jacket so that the camera could shoot and record. He called William King's wife, Nina, back. "Nina, hello. This is Christopher Johnson. Do you remember me? My wife, Bridget, studied with you at the university, and now she works with William as a financial analyst." "Yes." "Well, they're at the Skyline Suites Hotel in room 616. Are you sure about this? William is cheating on you with my wife. I'm going to go in there now and talk to them." "Wait a minute. I want to visit them too. I'll be there in less than 10 minutes. I'm driving downtown." "Don't worry. I'm sure they'll be waiting for you." Christopher opened the door of the room and entered. I could hear someone taking a shower. William King stood naked in front of him. He was drying himself with a towel after a shower and humming to himself. Sparkling wine, a simple fruit appetizer, and 2 bowls were on the table. The TV was on and they were showing some news. There was an advertisement for Christopher's carpentry in the newsfeed. Christopher said softly, "William, hi." Amazed, William turned to face Christopher, opened his mouth and wanted to say something, but instantly collapsed on the carpet from a blow from Christopher's fist. Christopher did not limit himself to 1 blow to the face. He was not too lazy to thoroughly attach himself to William's face, lying on the floor several more times. The shower stopped working, and happy Bridget jumped out of the bathroom. Running into the room, she ran into Christopher, who had already finished beating William and was about to leave. That's all she could say. "Chris, you've got it all wrong." Christopher laughed, abruptly yanked a large towel off her, and asked, "What did I get wrong here?" "Chris, let's talk." "Oh my God, what did you do to William? Did you kill him?" "Should I have?" "He'll wake up soon." Christopher left the room, and when he left, he set the door lock to self-lock so that the door wouldn't lock. I went downstairs, met Nina in the lobby, handed her the key, and said, "I didn't close them, but you never know." Christopher arrived at work, went to the Human Resources Department, and put an application in front of the HR specialist for a 2-week paid leave, followed by dismissal. She looked at him in surprise and said, "Chris, who's going to let you go on vacation?" And there seemed to be a verbal agreement, but to resign, I don't know. Listen, everyone here in the office is well aware of the love affairs of William and my wife. I know that now too. Do you really think that after that I will stay here to work? But Chris, you have a whole workshop. They can't do it without you. There are no irreplaceable people, don't you know that? I'll take the application and put it for the CEO to sign, but he won't be here today. I know. He's at the hotel with my wife right now, and his wife Nina is there too. I think he won't be here tomorrow, and he won't be here until the end of next week either. From the HR department, Christopher went into his workshop, where he had a personal office. I collected all my drawings, copied all my technological developments to an external hard drive, and deleted this information from my work computer. After work, Christopher stopped by his friend Nick, whom he couldn't help but say goodbye to. Nick was a freelance craftsman. He had his own spacious studio. Nick saw him and exclaimed joyfully, "Hello, woodworker." "Hello, strongman. What have you got here?" "I'm working, and the brothers in the shop are sitting in the next room. You know a lot of them. Do you want to have a drink with them?" "Thanks, I'm driving." "Then sit down and tell me. What else do you want to surprise me with?" "I have an idea." "What's the idea?" "I've decided to get a divorce. The apartment isn't mine, and I can't live there." "What? Changed it?" "Changed it." "With whom?" "With the CEO. Not with Mr. King Sr. We now have his son, William Jr., as CEO. "And what did you decide?" "I'm getting a divorce and going back to my small homeland." "I see. What's in there?" "There's an old sawmill there, and my brother will buy it back. I'm going to work for him." "So, are you going to cut firewood for the public?" "No, I want to start production. To begin with, I will make caskets with secret compartments, double bottoms, and close access to them with special bolts. It's an interesting job, a promising and creative activity. And how can I help?" "But you will attract your talented artisans. After all, when they've spent every last coin, they come to me anyway. Will you take them in, feed them, keep them warm? I will not only keep you warm, but also clothe you. One of them came in yesterday wearing only shorts and drank everything." "No, I don't think so, but he doesn't tell me, and I don't ask. But look what a picture he painted." "Indeed, a masterpiece. The guy's got talent." "Talent, but he drinks godlessly. Take the picture. You can make the frame yourself." "Thank you. I won't refuse. And my suggestion is this. I'll bring you these boxes, and your guys will make art paintings on them." "Like the Newport ceramic style?" "Why only him?" Ceramics Newport is a blue and white range, and here you can apply the whole palette. It can be painted in the spirit of the Amish and Mexican motifs on wood and floral patterns, and even fabric painting, batik. And Kokloma? In the color scheme of the Kokloma painting, there are only basic tones, red, black, and gold, not counting auxiliary ones, green and yellow. And your guys won't even have to be taught. Someone will get inspired and draw. And keep in mind, I'm not just offering this, but the payment will be upon sale. Well, that's a reasonable suggestion. I wish I could stop them from drinking. You know, I'll think about it seriously. After Christopher left, a confused Bridget almost ran after him, but she was without clothes. Glancing back at William, who suddenly let out a groan, she ran to the table, grabbed a carafe of water, and poured it over William. When she was picking up the decanter, she caught a sparkling wine glass, which fell to the floor and broke. She didn't pay attention to it. William shook his head listlessly. His face was covered in blood, which flowed from both a broken nose and a cut above his eyebrow. Bridget didn't know what to do. She understood that the whole day was completely ruined. It was just ridiculous to call law enforcement agencies and report that her husband had found them naked in their room. The front door swung open with a loud bang. Looking back, Bridget, who was sitting on the carpet, saw William's wife, Nina. Nina kicked Bridget in the face in a fit of rage. Bridget miraculously softened the blow, jumped to her feet, and jumped to the window. Nina's fit of anger passed. She stopped and asked, "Well, did you have some fun?" "Nina, I'm sorry. It just happened. You know how pushy William is. I couldn't resist." "Why are you lying down? What a sight you have. Did yours beat him up like that?" "I don't know. I was in the shower. When she came out, Christopher was already leaving, and William was lying beaten up. Should I call an ambulance?" "May everything heal on him like on a cat. However, I don't care about that. Darling, Nina, how are you feeling? Nina, how did you get here? Tell me, what were you planning to do here?" "Nina, but it's obvious. I wanted to talk to Bridget alone. To do this, we met on neutral territory, and for comfort in communication, we split up." "Well, yes, and then suddenly Christopher appeared and attacked me." "Great job. Creative and promising," Mick said. "How can I help you?" "But you will attract your talented craftsmen. After all, when they've spent every cent, they come to me anyway. Will you take them in, feed them, and give them shelter? I will not only give you shelter, but also provide you with clothes. Did one of them come in yesterday almost naked and drink everything?" "No, I don't think so, but he won't tell me, and I won't ask. But look at the mural he painted. Indeed, a masterpiece. The guy's got talent." "Talent? It only abuses. Take the picture. You can make the frame yourself." "Thanks. I won't refuse. And my suggestion is this. I'll bring you these boxes and your guys will put artistic ornaments on them." "Like the Dutch Delft style?" "Why only him? The Delft style is white and blue tones, but here you can apply the whole spectrum. It can be Paisley-style painting, Nordic runes on wood, imitation of Zestovo painting, and textile painting batik." "And the Mexican motifs?" "In the color scheme of the Mexican painting, only the main colors are red, black, and gold, not counting the accent colors, green and yellow. And your guys won't even have to be taught. Someone will get inspired and draw. And keep in mind, I'm not asking for this for free, but the payment will be upon sale." "Well, it's a business proposition. I wish I could get rid of their cravings for the bottle. You know, I'll think about it seriously." After Christopher left, a confused Bridget almost ran after him, but she was without clothes. Glancing back at William, who suddenly let out a groan, she rushed to the table, grabbed a glass carafe of water, and doused William with it. When she picked up the decanter, she caught a sparkling wine glass, which fell and shattered into pieces, but she did not pay attention to it. William shook his head weakly. His face was covered in blood, which flowed from both a broken nose and a cut above his eyebrow. Bridget was at a loss, realizing that the whole day was completely ruined. It was simply absurd to call law enforcement agencies and inform them that her husband had found them in an intimate setting in the room. The front door swung open with a loud bang. Looking back, Bridget, who was sitting on the carpet, saw William's wife, Nina. Nina kicked Bridget in the face in a fit of rage. Bridget miraculously softened the blow, jumped to her feet, and jumped to the window niche. Nina's fit of anger passed. She stopped and asked, "Well, did you have a good time?" "Nina, I'm sorry. It just happened." "You know how pushy William is. I couldn't resist." "Are you lying down? What a scary face you have. Did your husband beat him up like that?" "I do not know. I was in the shower. When she came out, Christopher was already leaving, and William was lying beaten up. Should I call an ambulance?" "He'll come to his senses as if nothing had happened." However, I don't care about that. Darling, how are you feeling? Nina, how did you get here? Through the door. Tell me, what were you planning to do here? Nina, it's obvious. I wanted to talk to Bridget alone. To do this, we met on neutral territory and got naked for convenience and communication. Well, yes. And then suddenly Christopher appeared and attacked me. And Bridget too, I see. No, I kicked Bridget. What for? That's how you always do it. First you do it, then you think, and then I'm ashamed of you. Is it okay that you're lying here naked on the floor with a bruised face and Bridget is standing without clothes? I'm telling you, it's a combination of circumstances. I don't have time to listen to your nonsense. Don't come home. You don't have a place here anymore. Meetings with children will be under my control, both for you and for your parents. You'll come for your things next Saturday, and I'll pack them up and put them at the garage entrance. Everyone, I wish you good luck in your amorous affairs. Nina abruptly turned around and left the room. William watched Nina go and cautiously tried to get up. My head was spinning. Bridget, ignoring William, hurriedly rushed to get dressed, wailing, "William, how could you let Chris through here?" I couldn't. Should I ask who's there? I hadn't let him in. I turned around and he was already in front of me. I also got a slap in the face from your wife because of you. That's it. I'm leaving. I urgently need to go home, no matter how Chris riots there. Bridget got dressed and ran out the door. William was left alone in the room. He finally got up and, seeing himself in the mirror, was shocked. He went to the bathroom and began to wash the blood off himself, realizing that now the real difficulties would begin. It didn't even cross his mind to report the beating to the police. Christopher said goodbye to Nick, got in the car, and drove to the law firm Resolution Partners. He came out 4 hours later. Everything turned out well, and he handed over the management of his divorce to a lawyer, paid for this service. After that, I went with him to the district court and filed for divorce, agreeing with a lawyer on the procedure for communicating with my daughter. Christopher got into his car and drove towards his hometown. Bridget jumped out onto the street, hailed a private taxi, and drove home. My daughter, Danielle, was at home. She glanced at her mother and said, "Wow, your father beat you up pretty well. How are you going to get to work?" "It's not my father." "Are you in trouble again? I knew that your dates with a date would not lead to good. But now you're not bound by obligations." "What do you mean, not connected?" "My father hasn't returned from work yet. Yes, he wasn't going there, but I don't know for sure." "What do you know?" "The fact that the father packed his things and left." "Where did he go?" "He went to his native area, to North Dakota." "What about work?" "What kind of job?" "Well, where did he work?" "I think he quit." "What do you mean, quit? And when did he do it?" "I was in the office today, and the HR department didn't tell me anything, and the director doesn't know." "Mom, did you have fun with the director at the hotel again?" "It just turns out Dad knew about it." "Yes, I knew. I also messed up things." "Daughter, he beat up the CEO of the company. Is that your lover's?" "You told me what a mumbler your dad is, and what an influential lover." "And Dad, well done. What else did you want from him?" "A healthy man cannot remain indifferent when his wife has cheated on him." "Did you want him to catch you in bed with your lover and forgive you right away?" "You can't even imagine how hard it was for him. You all work at the same company, everyone around you knew everything and mocked your father at work." "No one knew anything, Mom." "How did I find out?" "Hotel workers are also people. They have acquaintances and friends with whom they share news and gossip. Thus, the whole city knows about your hot connection." "What makes you think I'm hot?" "I love your father, and I don't want to lose him, and I won't give him a divorce." "Mom, that's not what you told me a while ago. That the father is not capable of anything, either as a money earner or as a man. And now you're talking about some kind of love for him. You decide what you want. He set you free for a new relationship." "But I didn't ask him to." "Of course, you found this new relationship on your own, and you didn't care about the needs of your father and our family as a whole. And now you're nervous because your usual lifestyle is disappearing. Can you call your dad?" "I don't think so. He said that his phone would be disconnected today." Bridget dialed the HR department. The HR specialist recognized her and immediately said, "Bridget, did you know that Christopher left a leave of absence with subsequent dismissal? And how did he explain it? He said that he knows everything about your betrayal with William, that all the employees of the company know about it, and he can't stay working after such a disgrace. What treason? He made it all up for himself. Bridget, I don't care who you're dating, as long as it's not my husband. But everyone at the company knows that you and William are intimately close. This came to our office from the workshop where Christopher worked, and I have no idea who brought this news." Okay, so did Christopher get fired? No. The director isn't here today because he left with you. I cannot do this without his approval. We'll decide tomorrow. But Christopher said that no matter what the director decided, he wouldn't come to work anyway. I've registered the order for today, just in case. Bridget ended the conversation with the staff and turned to her daughter. "Daniel, we are left alone. I didn't think that this weak-willed man would be able to do that and leave us. Therefore, we need to decide how to live on. Of course, I will apply to the court for a divorce and for financial support. Mom, don't exaggerate. We weren't left alone. You were left alone. Dad didn't give up on me. And now I'm deciding who to live with. No solutions. You're going to live with me. Mom, I'm an adult and I'll make the decision on who to live with on my own. And as for the fact that you're going to file for divorce yourself, it surprises me. 5 minutes ago, you categorically stated that you would not give him a divorce. Just decide what you want. I need to meet with him and talk to him. We can still save our family." "No, Mom. I'm afraid you won't be able to do that anymore." Christopher arrived in his hometown, which, as it turned out, was overgrown with suburban cottages of the townspeople, which had not been the case before. He unloaded the things brought by his brother and himself at his parents' house. When Jonathan saw that he had arrived, he came and asked, "How was the summit meeting?" "I recorded this meeting on my phone for a story." "I don't know. I had a lot of other urgent things to do, but no one was following me." "That's great. I talked to the former owner of the sawmill, Mr. O'Connell. We agreed with him, and even for a smaller amount, $80,000. He leaves us all the equipment and has already handed over the documents confirming their legal purchase today. Tomorrow, if you have no other plans, we will go to the district council and the forest department. I have connections there too. Will you be released from your fellowship?" "Yes, I have already resolved the issue and resigned." "Did you bring the money?" "Yes, I have the cash with me." "All right, let's go to my place. Martha has already set the table." The brothers closed their parents' house and went to Jonathan's house. Martha was already busy in the kitchen. There was an appetizer on the table, fried bacon with onions, fresh green onions, boiled potatoes, homemade pickles. Jonathan placed a bottle of whiskey in the center of the table. Christopher took out his bottle and put it next to it. The children came running, said they didn't want to eat, and would go for another walk. Nevertheless, they were seated at the table. They ate quickly and ran into the courtyard. The next day, the brothers completed their task. We also went to the local cemetery, where we visited the grave of our parents. We came to the workshop after lunch. Christopher took another thorough look at everything, and within a week they began sawing wood into floorboards and beams. It was obviously hard work for two people. Therefore, after recalculating their business plan, they decided that they could hire 3 hired workers, and in 10 days, the workshop was fully operational. A week later, one of Jonathan's sons ran into the shop and said, "Uncle Chris, your daughter has arrived with her things." Christopher hurried home and found his daughter Danielle on the doorstep with a large sports bag and suitcase. When she saw her father, she said, "Dad, I've come to live with you." "All right, come inside. Tell me, how did you graduate from high school?" "It's fine. All the grades are excellent. I will say more. I have taken my documents from school and I will study here in my senior year. But you're probably wondering what Mom has?" "No, not really. I'll tell you briefly. Anyway, in the beginning, she was putting on airs saying, 'Where's he gonna go? He's gonna come running back, and everything you do and say is a bluff.' But then a statement of claim came from the court and a hearing date was set. So the lights under your lover's eyes are a bluff." "Oh, you don't know anything." William's wife, Nina, also left her mother with a decent bruise. She was going to work on Friday for a long time. She kept trying to disguise him. So she got fired from her job. No, they left it. But the director was fired. Who kicked him out? They're looking for you now because the production you were running started to malfunction. Customers are dissatisfied with the quality of the work performed, and the goods delivered are being rejected. How will you help them? No, daughter, of course I'm sorry that this happened, but now they are competitors for me, and I'm not going to share my ideas and developments with them. Dad, I'm not a freeloader here. I want to work too. I'll come up with something so that you won't be bored. At that moment, Jonathan entered the house. When he heard the last sentence, he said, "Chris, let her ride bicycles with my boys around the village and take a look." What's she going to watch? Who has old trees in the yard? Maple, cherry, linden, walnut. In general, what conditionally refers to mahogany, hardwood. And for you, I'm telling you, an oak tree will be delivered to us tomorrow. Have you set up machines for yourself? Of course. Everything has been set up for a long time. Is there an order for furniture already? Yes, there is, and the customer is from the city. He's got a country house built here. Now go take a measurement and agree on what you're going to do with it. Daddy, can I come with you? After all, I worked in Photoshop and in your furniture program. I'll give them a sketch to coordinate later. Of course you can. So you found a job for yourself. And you haven't told me everything about your mother. So, in the beginning, she thought that you would crawl to her, but you don't show up or call. And then there are problems with the lover. His wife kicked him out, and the house was decorated for her as a gift from her parents. But his parents wouldn't let him in. Why is that? Because of the grandchildren. My grandfather said that his grandchildren were more precious to him, and he could live wherever he wanted. So he can live with Bridget now. Yes, he came. When his mom found out that he had nothing, no car, no apartment, no bank account, she kicked him out the door. She thinks he's to blame for what happened, and she yelled at him. It turns out that she paid for all meetings with him out of her pocket. She paid for a hotel or motel, snacks, drinks, and expected more from him in bed, but he turned out to be neither fish nor meat. How do you know all this? Yes, when he came, his face was bruised, his eyebrow was sewn up. I understand you did a good job. They were talking very loudly in the kitchen, and I heard everything. And where does he live now? His grandmother sheltered him. So now Mama said that she won't give you a divorce and will insist on making peace. Anyway, there's a hearing tomorrow. You'll hear for yourself. I won't hear anything. My lawyer will come there. I'm not going to go there, especially since this is the first hearing. Okay, we'll deal with that later. Are you going to eat? I'm just having lunch. I'll eat with you. You warm it up while I change my clothes. Then we'll go for a measurement. They had lunch and went to measure the kitchen. Danielle looked at everything carefully, made notes in a notebook. 2 days later, they visited the house again and brought 3 versions of the sketches with the calculation of the price. An advance payment of 50% of the order price was given. On the same day, the late afternoon, the lawyer also called, who said, the hearing took place. The judge gave a deadline for reconciliation of the parties, 3 months. Based on my practice, this period will last up to 4 months. Now it's up to you. Toward September, Christopher brought Nick the first batch of boxes with a secret. Nick, examining the product, was delighted and volunteered to paint a couple of boxes himself. We also agreed on the price. On the 1st of September, Danielle went to school. Christopher asked, "Daughter, how are you at your new school?" "Dad, I've never liked school, but it gives me knowledge. Knowledge gives you a position in society. And what did I notice? It's somehow quieter and more comfortable here than in the city. Back at the elite school, everyone showed themselves how cool they were and could do anything. Everything is simpler here. I like it here." Danielle really liked this school. She quickly got along with the girls, who accepted her into their company. She never bragged in front of them. Once, during recess, one of the students in their class, who for some reason was considered the terror of the school, inexplicably went to study in his senior year, out of mischief, hit a boy from the 7th grade, and he fell. Falling, he tore an old jacket, which he was very careful of. The school's thunderstorm, whose name was Vinny, burst out laughing. Danielle, who saw this picture, suddenly turned slightly and delivered a spectacular kick to Vinny's face. He fell from the blow, stood up, shook his head crazily, and shouted, "I'll show you now." He rushed at Danielle. Danielle calmly took a step to the side, grabbed Vinny by the collar as he flew past, and accelerated him forward. As a result, Vinny smashed his face into the wall with all his might. Danielle approached him, who was lying on the floor with a bruised face, and politely asked, "Vinny, maybe you want more, so I'll add it to you now? You don't know anything, so why are you bothering?" "I'll tell Benny. He'll put you in your place." The thunderstorm of the school jumped up and disappeared into the toilet amid the laughter of classmates. Danielle approached the upset boy, helped him up, and led him to the Office of Work Skills. There, she forced him to take off his jacket and carefully stitched the torn seam. "I met a boy. His name was Ethan, and he lived with Hope's aunt. He had no father, and his mother died in childbirth. My aunt was still young. She used to work in the forestry department as an economist. She was fired a long time ago and could not find a job, interrupting temporary earnings in an agricultural enterprise." It was a warm September evening. Daniel and his father were sitting in the courtyard in an original gazebo made by him for showing to customers. The gate creaked, and Benny entered the yard. He was a well-groomed man who had been released from prison for 10 days, where he was serving a sentence for murder. He immediately received 12 years, but after a bunch of appeals, the case was reviewed and the 4 years he had already served were allowed to be punished. Although Benny was not to blame for what happened, his fiancée, who was already pregnant with his child, achieved freedom for him. Their child was now in his 4th year. Entering the courtyard, Benny shouted, "Hey, boss, where are you? It's necessary to waste time." Christopher came out of the gazebo and asked, "What are you interested in, Benny?" "Yes, your girlfriend beat up my nephew at school. Let's ask now." "Danielle, did you beat someone up at school?" Danielle followed her father out and replied, "Dad, I only hit him lightly once, but he decided to gore me, accelerated, missed, and crashed face first into the wall. No, I offered him. If it's not enough for him, then I'll add more, but he refused the supplement and ran to the toilet." "Why did you slap him lightly?" And he had a 7th grade boy, tore his jacket, and laughed at him when he started crying. And the boy is an orphan. He lives with his aunt. My father died 4 years ago, and my mother died giving birth to him. Benny intervened, and the kid's name is not Ethan? Yes, Ethan. His aunt worked as an economist in the forestry department. That's a bastard. Who? Ethan? No, my nephew, Vinny. Come here. Vinny appeared, hiding behind the fence. Benny asked, "What do you want, Vinny?" "Because of his father's death, you were put in a detention center." "You fool, you saved me." "His father got into a fight for me at the dance. One rich man started pestering my fiancé. I besieged him, and he offered me, 'Let's go one-on-one.' Only 4 more jumped out with him, including the son of the director of the forestry department. That's when Cole jumped in. He and Sister Hope were passing by the club, and we were already fighting. A serious quarrel is going on. Anyway, there's a meeting tomorrow. You'll hear for yourself." "I won't hear anything. My lawyer will come there." "I'm not going to go there, especially since this is the first hearing." "Okay, we'll deal with that later." "Are you going to eat?" "I'm just having lunch." "I'll eat with you. You warm it up while I change my clothes. Then we'll go for a measurement." They had lunch and went to measure the kitchen. Danielle looked at everything carefully, made notes in a notebook. 2 days later, they visited the house again and brought 3 versions of the sketches with the calculation of the price. An advance payment of 50% of the order price was given. On the same day, in the late afternoon, the lawyer also called, who said the hearing took place. The judge gave a deadline for reconciliation of the parties, 3 months. Based on my practice, this period will last up to 4 months. Now it's up to you. Towards September, Christopher brought Nick the first batch of boxes with a secret. Nick, examining the product, was delighted and volunteered to paint a couple of boxes himself. We also agreed on the price. On the 1st of September, Danielle went to school. Christopher asked, "Daughter, how are you at your new school?" "Dad, I've never liked school, but it gives me knowledge." "Knowledge gives you a position in society. And what did I notice? It's somehow quieter and more comfortable here than in the city. Back at the elite school, everyone showed themselves how cool they were and could do anything. Everything is simpler here. I like it here. Danielle really liked this school. She quickly got along with the girls who accepted her into their company, never bragging in front of them. Once, during recess, one of the students in their class, who for some reason was considered the terror of the school, inexplicably went to study in his senior year out of mischief, hit a boy from the 7th grade, and he fell. Falling, he tore an old jacket, which he was very careful of. The thunderstorm of the school, Vinny, burst out laughing. Danielle, who saw this picture, suddenly turned slightly and delivered a spectacular kick to Vinny's face. He fell from the blow, stood up, shook his head crazily, and shouted, "I'll show you now." He rushed at Danielle. Danielle calmly took a step to the side, grabbed Vinny by the collar as he flew past, and accelerated him forward. As a result, Vinny smashed his face into the wall with all his might. Danielle approached him, who was lying on the floor with a bruised face, and politely asked, "Vinny, maybe you want more, so I'll add it to you now. You don't know anything, so why are you bothering? I'll tell Benny, he'll put you in your place." The thunderstorm of the school jumped up and disappeared into the toilet amid the laughter of classmates. Danielle approached the upset boy, helped him up, and led him to the Office of Work Skills. There, she forced him to take off his jacket and carefully stitched the torn seam. I met a boy. His name was Ethan, and he lived with an aunt. He had no father, and his mother died in childbirth. My aunt was still young. She used to work in the forestry department as an economist. She was fired a long time ago and could not find a job, interrupting temporary earnings in an agricultural enterprise. It was a warm September evening. Daniel and his father were sitting in the courtyard in an original gazebo, made by him for showing to customers. The gate creaked, and a pale-faced Benny, Venka, entered the yard. "There's blood all over my face. I see the director's son has a knife. I thought I was finished." Then I realized that help had come to me, but I got a stake in the head. When I woke up, Hope was screaming. "They're gone. They've run away. I have 3 knife wounds myself, but not fatal ones. And Cole is lying, and his eyes are open." I lost consciousness. I woke up in the hospital, then I was arrested. As it turned out, according to their version, it was me who attacked them with a knife. For 4 years, my Hope beat the doorsteps. She helped. She was fired from her job at the forestry department because of this. And then the director's son found his death. A drunk crashed into a road roller in a car. The speed was pretty high. 2 died, and 2 more were in intensive care. When they were dying, they confessed that they had slandered me. Otherwise, I would still be sawing at Christmas trees in the north. Having said that, Benny punched Vinny in the neck and added, "You're going to protect this kid from now on. And now let's go to them. You will ask for forgiveness." "I'm sorry to have bothered you, Daniel, and I'm sorry too." "Wait, where do you work now?" "They don't take you anywhere. Although the director has changed in the forestry department, they don't take it." "And what kind of Christmas trees did you saw?" "Yes, it's figurative. As it is, I'm a 6th class frame builder." "And the 6th category at once?" "Well, yes, we took it seriously there." "Did you know that we have a sawmill?" "No, I haven't heard." "Now you can hear. Let's take the 4th digit. After 3 months, you will confirm your qualifications, and we will transfer you to the 6th category. And here's something else. Are you going to see Hope?" "Yes, I should apologize and thank you. So apologize and tell her to come to our sawmill tomorrow at 9 o'clock too. We need an economist. If you've forgotten something, we'll send you to study." "How old is she?" "Yes, it probably won't be even 30. "That's it. Let's see you tomorrow." The next day, at 8 o'clock, Benny and Hope came to the sawmill. After the registration and briefing, Benny started working on the machine. Hope Jonathan became an economist. She quickly got involved in the work, and after lunch, she showed Jonathan, with motivation, where the pitfalls of their activities were hidden and how it could turn out when checking. Jonathan's wife, Martha, who had a rough idea of the job, was appointed chief accountant. But it was simply impossible to find a specialist in the conditions of the village. Martha and Hope sat down together and began to sort out the accounting. In the late afternoon, Martha called her husband and Christopher and offered to make Hope the chief accountant, who understands this job and understands what she is doing. After some conversations, Martha's offer was accepted. The next day, Hope went to work as a chief accountant and made her first request for a powerful computer for accounting needs. This was necessary because all payments were made through the bank by wire transfer. Meanwhile, Danielle's school epic has not ended. Vinny harbored a grudge against her for shaming him in front of the whole school. In the circles of his classmates, he announced to his friends, "I will catch her after school and take revenge. He'll know how to throw himself at me and stick up for any snot." They also set a date when he would be waiting for her. Danielle had heard Vinny's threats against her, but she wasn't afraid of him. On the appointed day, Andrew, the forester's son, a healthy and strong guy, approached Vinny. Without saying a word, he punched him in the jaw. Vinny fell from the impact in surprise. Then, getting up from the floor and assessing Andrew, he did not get into a fight, but said, "Andrew, what are you doing?" "It's nothing. And if you threaten Danielle, it will be even worse. So you'd better avoid it, and your teeth will be whole." It so happened that Danielle witnessed the conflict, and she approached Andrew and said, "Thank you, Andrew. My father has always protected me, but I will not refuse your help either." So she became friends with her classmate, Andrew, a healthy, strong guy with whom she later went to university. Christopher went to town to see Nick. The latter welcomed him with open arms. Nick showed him the already painted boxes with the secret and said, "Well, do whatever you want, but I've already sold this lot and I won't hide it at a price 5 times higher than what you offered. And there is also an order for a large batch. I paid off my employees. I have your share in the safe. Where are your employees?" "As usual, on a bench in the next room. They paint and sleep there, and I feed them there." "What are they drinking for?" "It's different for everyone, but everyone claims that it's out of desperation because they don't see the meaning of life. Listen, what if you bring them to my village? Let them live there. I have an idea. Like, get all the alcoholics together and wean them off drinking?" "Well, yes, so that they can look at each other and think for themselves. It is possible, but the main thing is to find a place to live." Christopher returned to the village with a huge pile of cash. "I talked to my brother, and the next day they paid Hope and the newly hired machine operator Benny a pretty decent advance. When paying, Jonathan explained, 'This is a type of lifting, a one-time payment to you as specialists.' Christopher has long taken a look at 2 empty houses located next to the sawmill. I made inquiries about them, found out that the owners had moved to the city, planned to sell the houses, but prices had dropped. The lack of landscaping also had a significant impact. There was no heating, although gas was passing nearby. Christopher discussed this with Jonathan. He agreed. We agreed with the owners and bought these houses. They became the real estate of their limited liability company, LLC. Repairs were carried out as soon as possible, and in October it was possible to move in there. Soon Christopher brought the first residents from the city. These were 3 artists from among those who expressed their desire to get away from drunkenness and engage in creativity. On the territory occupied by the sawmill, they were given a room where they could work. There was only one condition: they were not supposed to drink. Bridget was very quiet after her daughter went to live with her father. At work, she understood that she would not have any support. Moreover, difficult days came at the company, and it was a question of closing the workshop, which was created for Christopher's creativity. Now he was making only losses due to lack of quality. Orders dropped. And it soon became clear that they had a powerful competitor from the nearest village. Bridget immediately realized that her husband and his brother Jonathan were still competitors of their enterprise. At the end of September, a trial was held on Christopher's application. Christopher did not attend the meeting, but his representative did. The judge listened to Bridget, who explained, "Christopher avoids meetings with me, and reconciliation is possible only at a meeting in the city. I don't see him. He's not answering his phone. I don't know what he does in the village. My daughter also avoids me, although there has not yet been a court decision on who she will stay with, and I do not know in what conditions she lives there. I ask the court to summon my daughter to a meeting for a full and comprehensive review of the case, so that she confirms her desire to live with her father." The court met Bridget halfway by issuing subpoenas to Christopher and Danielle for the next hearing, which was scheduled in 10 days. The lawyer contacted Christopher and explained that the court wanted to question his daughter. In addition, representatives of guardianship, together with representatives from the school, came to Christopher on behalf of the court to check. An active examination of the living conditions of a minor citizen and his family was drawn up. The content of the act was positive. 10 days later, Christopher and Daniel arrived at the court. Bridget knew they were coming, and she was looking forward to this meeting. I counted, as soon as Christopher sees her, he will be at her feet again. After all, 17 years of marriage inspired her with an optimistic mood. Bridget dressed up for the occasion, did a light daytime makeup, and came to court, confident that she would bring her husband home. But everything went wrong for her in court. Danielle categorically refused to talk to her in the hallway while waiting for the court session to begin. Christopher ignored her too and talked to his lawyer. Christopher was the first to be questioned in court, and he said categorically that there would be no reconciliation with his wife. A teacher from the school and a representative of the guardianship authorities were present during Danielle's interrogation. Danielle spoke calmly, as if she were answering homework, and said firmly, "What Mom did doesn't make her look good." The most annoying thing is that my entire class at the elite school knew that she was cheating on Dad. Then they told me about it, and that was before my father found out about it. I talked to my mom, trying to dissuade her from further meetings with this man, but she didn't do it, and then Dad found out about the lover. Which parent do you want to live with? I've made my choice. I'll be communicating with my mom, but it's a little difficult right now because my dad and I live in the village and I have a school. I don't want to skip classes for the sake of useless communication with my mother. I do extra classes on weekends and I'm getting ready to go to university. Seeing that the court was ready to rule in Christopher's favor, Bridget announced the last trump card. "Your Honor, I would like to make a statement." "We're listening to you. I officially declare that Danielle is not Christopher's daughter. I gave birth to her from my lover, William. We were dating at the time, and I got pregnant. Since William didn't want to marry me, he had a commercially profitable woman in mind. He married her. Our romance was interrupted for a while and resumed again when he became the CEO of the company. But now it has been destroyed again. Tell me, is the defendant William aware that he has a daughter?" "No, I never told him about it." "Did he take part in the upbringing and maintenance of his daughter?" "No, of course not." "Plaintiff, a question for you. What do you want to say about the statement?" "I'm asking you to take a break for half an hour. I need to talk to a lawyer." The court session was adjourned. After the break, Christopher was given the floor. "Your Honor, I do not recognize what my wife has just announced. Danielle is my daughter." The judge demanded the original of Danielle's birth certificate. After studying the entries in it, he called Bridget over and, showing the document, said, "According to the family law, the father of the child is the man who conceived the child. It is believed that the child was conceived by a man who, at the time of the child's birth, was married to the child's mother, recognized paternity, or his paternity was established by a court." "Your Honor, I understand that perfectly. Now listen further. If the father is already indicated in the birth certificate, then first of all, this record of absence should be challenged, and only after the court decision enters into force can a claim for establishing descent from another man be resolved. But the recording was made, let's say, from my words. I don't remember how it was done anymore. I will say this. In order not to waste time, the establishment of your daughter's paternity is not the subject of consideration in today's meeting. If you consider it necessary, then the issue of establishing or challenging paternity as decided by the court on the basis of a man's claim filed against the child or on the basis of a mother's or child's claim filed against the man. Write a statement and file a claim. Just remember, challenging the paternity of the father indicated in the birth certificate and simultaneously considering claims to establish the child's origin is not allowed. Therefore, prepare 2 lawsuits. In the meantime, the court is retiring to make a decision." Bridget sank down onto the hard bench. She realized that all her hopes for reconciliation had not been fulfilled. Indeed, the court's decision was soon announced. Christopher's claim was satisfied in full. After the meeting ended, they went outside. Bridget walked up to Christopher and Danielle and said, "I'm sorry. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. I realized that I had lost you forever. Don't hold it against me. No, we don't keep it. Besides, I didn't believe what you said about your lover's paternity. I just wanted to hold you back. Bridget, we've been living apart for almost 6 months now, and to be honest, I haven't missed you. Yes, it hurt. It hurt a lot, but I managed to endure this pain. I know I'll never forgive you. I have my own path now, my own way of life. Danielle will soon become a full-grown woman. When she graduates from university, then I'll think about myself, and I hope that I will have more grandchildren. And today I have my favorite job. At that time, Hope approached them, who was submitting some kind of report to the tax office. She greeted Bridget cheerfully and asked Christopher, Chris, have you done everything you planned yet? Yes, we have decided everything. We have discussed all the issues, and it's a pity. I would have gone to the store. I would have bought Ethan shirts. Danielle supported her, and he needs to buy a suit. I wasn't counting on that. I'll wait for payday. You've just been paid a lifting fee. Chris, I paid off my debts while I was out of work, and they accumulated. I see. Bridget, I'm sorry. We have to go. Daniel, Hope, let's get in the car. They got into the car with Hope sitting in the front seat next to the driver. Danielle got in the back. Bridget was left standing alone in the parking lot. She watched with envy as her former and happy life was gone forever. Bridget was walking away from the courthouse, where her fate wasn't decided the way she wanted it to be. She clearly understood that what she had had all these years, a loving husband, a loving daughter, was all gone, left in the past, and there was no going back. The reality was that she, who had lived well for most of her life, was left alone because of stupid lust. Today, looking around, it was clear that she would never find another man like Christopher. At the same time, things seemed to be getting better for Christopher. She scolded herself for coming up with this bluff that Danielle wasn't his daughter. When she said all this, she felt ashamed of herself. After all, in fact, she exposed herself to be dissolute and strolling, and this only pushed her husband further away. Christopher drove to the mall. Hope asked, "Who was the woman who saw you off?" "I think I've seen her somewhere. She reminds me of someone. It's just a friend we met. Here's my card. Buy everything you need. Daniel will help you." "Dad, where are you going?" "I'm going to the furniture department. I'll talk to the supervisor. I'll meet you at the car. When you've bought everything, give me a call." Christopher went to a familiar department where he had once exhibited his products. After half an hour of negotiations with the director, I agreed on furniture supplies and told them to have a substantive conversation. "I'll bring you the price list first. I make furniture from solid oak, pine, or alder. If any of the customers want, you can make an order." They stayed at the mall for over an hour. And finally, Christopher, who was waiting for Danielle and Hope by the car, saw them. They were walking, hung with various boxes and packages. When Hope got to the car, she said, "Chris, I'll pay you back." "What will you give me back?" "I mean the money." "Maybe not right away, but I'll pay you back gradually. It's just that Ethan is growing up. I just can't keep up with him, and especially the shoes." "Stop making excuses. Load everything into the car. Let's go home. I don't think Danielle offended herself here. And here I offended you. I didn't buy anything for myself. I have everything. We bought you a new shirt and 2 t-shirts." We were approaching the village when it got dark outside. Christopher suggested to Hope, "Take Ethan and come to us. We'll have dinner and talk. The 3 of us need to talk." "What is the topic?" "Production." We drove up to Hope's house and unloaded the updates. Danielle stayed there, and Christopher went home. While they were trying on the new clothes they had bought for Ethan, he managed to set the table. The guests have arrived. He sat everyone down at the table. Hope asked, "So what's the production?" "We'll have dinner first, and then we'll talk." After dinner, we went to the computer room. Christopher turned it on, went to the page created by his daughter, showed Hope the completed sketches, and explained, "Hope, I need to do a cost calculation for these products, and for each cabinet separately and the kitchen set as a whole. They will be made of solid oak, pine, or alder. Danielle will help you if you don't understand something in her drawings." "How urgent is it?" "The sooner the better. But this does not mean that you have to give up everything and do this job. After work, you will come to my place and do calculations for half an hour every evening. Danielle, meanwhile, will help Ethan do his homework. I'm in charge of the dinner." Hope accepted Christopher's offer. Every evening after work, she came to Christopher and did cost calculations on his computer. Finally, the day came when everything was ready. Danielle gathered all the best practices and got a product catalog. My daughter suggested creating a website, and one of the people who came in Nick's direction, a drunken artist named Max, helped them in this. He wasn't bad at drawing, but his true talent was in web design. At one time, he was in great demand, but he became addicted to drinking and lost his friends. His wife divorced him and was left to live alone with her young son. Realizing that he was the reason for his failed life, Max left home, leaving everything to his wife. Occasionally, when money appeared, he would come home and give it to the mailbox in an envelope. Nick didn't think he was lost yet. The first days of his stay in the team created by Christopher were hard for him, but he got involved. Getting his first paycheck also became a challenge for him. After receiving the money, he boarded a minibus early the next morning and left. They thought he was drinking again, but he came back completely sober in the evening. Apologizing to Christopher for skipping the day, he asked, "Can I get to work?" "You can." "Where have you been?" "I took money to my wife for the child." "Is everything okay?" "Yes, she met with me and we talked. She still lives alone." "Tell me, Chris, can I invite her and her son to visit me?" "Max, we don't have a prison, so there are no restrictions on visiting relatives. When she arrives, tell her to cook something for her and her son. And for my son, I need something delicious." "Thank you." "One more request. Will you let me call the phone? I've already drunk mine." "Not a problem." It was Max, who did not waste the skills of a web designer, who created their website and gave them recommendations for its promotion and support. He finalized the catalog created by Danielle and gave her a lot of practical advice. So one day, Christopher went to town, taking Hope with him. They stopped by the printing house, applied for a catalog, and simultaneously received an order from the director of the printing house to make furniture for his office and reception area. When the catalog was printed, they sent it to several furniture stores, and orders began pouring in. Orders for everything. Nick began to receive large orders for the manufacture of boxes with a secret. Due to the boom that had begun, Christopher talked with Jonathan and Martha about the need to expand production and offered to buy back the equipment from his old company that had once been purchased for his workshop. After his dismissal, they tried to use the machines there, but then they abandoned this idea, and it was idle. Mr. Nicholas Sr., who took over as CEO after his son was ousted from this post, agreed to the sale. Before the new year, Christopher himself came to receive the purchased equipment. Bridget looked longingly out the window of her office, which overlooked the courtyard of the enterprise, and watched Christopher loading equipment. When he went to the administrative building to issue invoices, she left the office and met him in the hallway. "Hello, Chris." "Hello?" "You look good." "How's Daniel?" "Thank you. We're fine. Daniel studies and helps me. I'd like to see her. Would you mind if I came over this weekend?" "I don't mind, but we don't even have days off. Now we're going to mount what I'm taking out of here. We have already installed the walls for the new workshop and the roof, too. You haven't married there yet?" "I told you, Daniel will go to university first, and then I will decide my future. Besides, as I remember, I got married once. That was enough for me so far. I'm alone, too. I won't be able to live with you because I won't be able to trust you. And to be honest, everything is already burned out." A corporate party was organized for the new year, to which all the employees of the sprawling enterprise were invited. In order not to provoke the artists who were recovering, the party was held on the 30th, declaring the 31st a day off and banning alcohol at the corporate party. Gifts were prepared for the children of the company's employees. The celebration was stormy and fun. At the end of the evening, Max approached Christopher and asked, "Chris, would you mind if I went to town with my wife and son for the holidays today?" "Max, we've already talked about this, and I don't mind. I know that you can live with your family and not drink." "Of course, I'm sorry to lose a programmer. I just think it's all solved." "Of course it can be solved. I will work remotely from home. I've already installed the appropriate programs." So, before the new year, the family, destroyed by her husband's drunkenness, was reunited. Even more amazing events occurred after they learned about the treatment of alcoholism with such occupational therapy and a medical and rehabilitation center that specialized in medical care for men and women suffering from alcoholism and drug addiction. Along the way, they treated various types of addiction, anxiety disorders, depression, and anorexia. They believed that their clinic was a unique treatment center for alcoholism, drug addiction, neurosis, and anxiety disorders. As the founder of the company, the chief physician of the clinic came to Jonathan with a proposal that they would send their patients to him for treatment. It was suggested to Jonathan, you can take under your wing, on your own account, the territory of the former hospital for free. The former hospital was located in a luxurious manor house, had a beautiful but unkempt garden and a lake overgrown with mud. It could accommodate up to 50 patients. Previously, the hospital was the main place where residents of nearby villages came for treatment. But with the approach of the city and the advent of a developed road infrastructure, the hospital lost its purpose. Although the building and the territory were on the balance of the Central District Hospital, nobody knew what to do with this building and territory. Jonathan listened to the head doctor and called Christopher. Hope came with him. Having delved into the situation, Hope said, "Dear, you're going to take money from these patients there, but are we doing charity work? We will feed and treat them here. But people need it, and they will work for you. How nice it is to be kind at someone else's expense. But they will give you the building and the beautiful territory for free. In order to also engage in treatment, you need a license. We have a license. I congratulate you, but we don't have it and no one will give it to us. But you treat people? No, that's not true. We have employees with whom we work on the basis of employment contracts. According to the terms of the contracts, we provide them with housing and food and provide them with work clothes. We pay them wages. There are no obligations of ours about their treatment in the contracts. Yes, you must understand, the center's team has been selected for a long time and carefully. It includes qualified specialists who have successful work experience in narcology and psychiatry. They regularly upgrade their skills, use the most effective methods, and create their own unique treatment methods." Christopher joined the conversation. "We are very happy for you. If we bring another 50 to 70 alcoholics to our village, the villagers will pick me up on pitchforks. That's one thing. Secondly, where are you going to hire them? They won't take you to the forest department. There's nowhere to put their own. There are no vacancies for us either. The locals are queuing up to get a job with us. Well, as an option, to agriculture, but this is already an agreement with them and give them both the building and the territory." That was the end of the conversation. The clinic's brilliant idea to increase its income without straining was unsuccessful. And a couple of months later, the clinic started having trouble due to extremely inflated prices, imitation of treatment, and lack of affect from treatment. And soon the chief doctor of the clinic was put on the wanted list. It's been 6 months. Danielle passed her exams brilliantly and went to the city with the son of the forester, Andrew, to go to university. A week later, she said, "Dad, I'm enrolled." And Andrew too. We're now future programmers. Great. Congratulations to you and Andrew. Okay, and now you. I know that you said that you would take care of yourself after my admission to university. It seems like yes, I said that. So propose to Hope today. She's waiting for this. No decisions are made later or later. I can only trust her with you. That's it. I'm waiting for an invitation to the wedding. Danielle hung up, making Christopher think. Moreover, he had already acquired an engagement ring in secret from his daughter, and he made up his mind. He left the workshop and went into the office occupied by Hope. She sat alone and sorted through the papers. Christopher said to her, "Hope, can I distract you for a while?" "Yes, of course." "Hope, marry me." Hope looked up, looked at Christopher in surprise, and whispered faintly, "I agree." Christopher walked around the table where she was sitting. Hope got up from her chair. He hugged her and they kissed. After the kiss, Christopher added, "Hope, so that everything will be as usual, I will send matchmakers tomorrow morning." "Who? Jonathan? Do you mind?" I said that I agree. The wedding took place a month later. Danielle was sitting at the table, and next to her sat the son of the forester, Andrew, who was invited to the wedding with his parents. The groom's witness was Nick, who had come from the city specifically for the occasion. The artists who lived in the house provided by Jonathan and Christopher were invited. As a result, Christopher got married, and 3 months later, Hope informed him that she was expecting a child. They lived in Christopher's house. Ethan lived with them. He was also preparing to go to university. Bridget was still living alone. No, she was trying to fix her personal life, but nothing came of it. I met William once. He complained to her that he had become an outcast from his parents. At the same time, they meet with his ex-wife and grandchildren every weekend. William lived in a studio apartment on the outskirts and was very surprised that Bridget was not fired from her job. He got a job as a manager at a building materials company. Danielle successfully studied at the university with Andrew. In his third year, he got a job as a programmer. After earning money, he bought a ring and proposed to Danielle. She said yes, and for the summer holidays, they came to the village in the status of bride and groom. With her father's consent, Danielle invited Bridget to the wedding. She arrived and sat modestly in a corner, watching a happy Christopher and his new wife, a happy bride, and a serious groom. Tears were streaming down her cheeks. She understood that with her betrayal, she had ruined her happy marriage, but nothing could be returned.